Okay. Welcome everyone to the Centerville City Council meeting being held on February 7th. We are grateful for those that are in attendance and those that may be joining on Zoom as well. We just finished a work session where we had discussion about some items related to pickleball courts, to our fire service, and we had to put off our finance professional until next time, but we'll look forward to that. So we welcome everybody here. Let's start by making sure that we can conduct business tonight by going around the room with our council and identifying themselves.
Meekum present.
Ince present.
Summerhays present.
First present.
McEwen present.
All five council present, and we thank them for being here and thank them for their service, as well as others staff that we have that is here with us tonight as well. Let's start with the legislative prayer thought by Councilman Ince.
Today is February 7th. Sunday is February 12th, Abraham Lincoln's birthday. Arguably one of the most significant presidents that we have had, and sponsor of equal rights in the country. Unfortunately, that effort is still in progress, and I think it behooves each of us to contemplate how we treat those around us on an ongoing basis, because those problems are very much in evidence in our society. 2 years ago, well, I think Centerville does a good job. 2 years ago, the City Council received a letter from a black woman in our society, and this was at the height of some of the problems in the summer of 2020. And this woman talked about, if I recall the letter correctly, having lived here for 20 years, having had a variety of incidents involving the police in her life, never feeling threatened and only feeling aided by our officers. But it still is important that each of us focus on how we treat people, because that is the solution to the problem, rather than any kind of government edict. And along with that, I would like to do a prayer. Our Father which art in heaven, we bow our heads before Thee at the beginning of this City Council meeting and give Thee thanks for the multitude of blessings in our lives, among them the opportunity to live in this community and be surrounded by tremendous people. We give thanks for public servants and first responders who protect our lives, liberty, and property, and pray Thy blessings to be with them. Pray that Thy Spirit will be with this council meeting this evening, that we may speak honestly and openly and make decisions which are best for the public. We say these things in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilmember Ince. Thanks for that thought as well. If you'd all rise and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the first thing on our agenda is the open session. This is a session that allows members of the public to comment by coming to the microphones. We ask you to introduce yourself and where you're from. And we also encourage that you try and keep your comments to 2 to 3 minutes per person. So that's the first thing. We don't have any public matters that we're going to be discussing tonight, so I guess anything that may want to be discussed would be you come to the microphone at this time. Like I say, just identify who you are and where you're from. So that open session is now available.
You're not going to be talking about pickleball courts?
But not in a public hearing. So anything about any anything that's on your mind will take place in the open session. We don't have any public hearings.
You just have to give public comment. My name is Tiffany Reese. I'm a Centerville resident. Hello, Centerville City Council members and mayor. I wanted to thank you for your service and yet remind you again that you represent the people and community of Centerville. I currently serve on the Parks and Rec Committee and have just finished my second term and still deciding whether I'm going to continue that. Points of interest on the pickleball courts. I keep hearing that Smith Park is a quote-unquote passive park. I serve on the Parks and Rec Committee and have never heard of parks being designated or have a declaration of the sorts. This is a tactic to lead people in a direction that you may want for yourself, but no park has a designation for passive park, sports park, loud park, written on any of the papers. The passive park we all can have control over is our own private property, the backyard you have, or the front yard, not city property. Second, water, huge issue now and in the future. Things need to change and people are being asked to make drastic changes to help with the water situation in their own yards. Let's be smart. Pickleball courts at Smith's Park don't need water. We don't need to irrigate and use more water than necessary. Smith Park is a perfect place for pickleball courts. Cost, the least expensive option is clearly Smith Park, and we can start the project sooner due to the situation where there is only dirt. Parking. I know many residents have been on the west and east side of Community Park at any given time in the good weather and daytime for the most part with soccer, football, baseball, lacrosse, walkers, runners on the path, or bikers, and there is zero parking. I have 6 children. They've played many sports, and there is absolutely no parking. There's too many people that park on the streets. It is a dangerous situation already for walking and pedestrians and even those trying to get to the fields. How do you think it's even reasonable to accommodate more cars for the many number of pickleball courts? And that means 10 pickleball courts, just add up the amount of players. This is a major issue and should be a huge red flag. Smith Park has parking and so does City Hall. In fact, more parking can be made at City Hall and water would be saved with the grass part on the east side where they can take the grass out and make more parking. Bathrooms at City Hall can be used during the good weather times that pickleball can be played and the bathrooms are shut off at during the October or the colder months. You have a Parks and Rec director for Centerville City, Bruce Cox, who's done extensive research on noise, traffic, and more, and he is being ignored in my opinion. He has suggested over and over to have pickleball courts at Smith Park. I think it's time we listen to him. How about the over 300 plus signatures received about having the courts at Smith Park? Please listen to the residents and put the pickleball courts at Smith Park. And of course, can we please run the courts north-south for obvious reasons? There are more pros at Smith Park than at the community park. Please have the pickleball courts at Smith Park. Thank you.
Thanks, Tiffany, appreciate it. Anybody else for open session?
My name is Jake Willis, resident of Centerville. I'd just like to echo the comments made previously. Beyond the safety issues of the location at Centerville Park, just a fan of pickleball, and I think it's a good community activity and unifier. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob.
My name is Cindy Hinsey, and I am a Centerville resident in favor of pickleball courts, sooner than later, hopefully. And I haven't been in the discussions, so why is it that we aren't considering Smoot Park?
We just discussed it a number of months back, and we discussed 3 different options. And Porter, Walton, Smith, and Smoot wasn't discussed, and the community park was discussed.
But do you know why? Why Smoot isn't an option?
I don't recall why Smoot wasn't brought up exactly, but those are the 3 that were discussed.
I think the west end of Smoot Park might be good and could be parking there too. And I think the Smith Park, I would vote for that as well. And I feel like more people will I think people will find out about pickleball courts wherever they are, but I feel like there would be more people at the community park than at these other locations. And that's my feeling. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy, appreciate it. Others?
My name's Jocelyn Cowa, and I just want to get it done. About 2 years ago, I was called to be on a committee to start this, and we were going to have a Zoom meeting to help, I think, maybe with some funding. Nothing's been done. It's just been a bunch of talk. And we have activities for youth. We don't have activities except walking and maybe trails for us adults who are paying the taxes. And so I prefer community park just because you could get more courts. But Smith Park, if you can get it going, I say go for it.
Thanks, Jocelyn, appreciate it.
I'm Pamela Weiniger, and I am a Centerville resident. And the only concern that I have is that I think we have asked people to not use water, like for a year, like last summer. And so we're going to put pickleball courts and like use more water resources? Can we just be smart? Like Smith Park is like the perfect solution. And yeah, we might be giving up a couple courts, but like, we can't tell people not to use the water wisely, and then the city goes and puts strain on the water resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela, appreciate it.
My name is Maureen Olson, and I'm a Centerville citizen, and I just would really like to have this go, this pickleball court, like Jacqueline said. It's a good thing for adults, but not just adults, children and youth, families. We see families out playing at Farmington. We're always going over there. It would be a great gathering place for families as well. I'm not really concerned about where it's at. Just get it done. Thank you.
Thanks, Maureen.
Dana Willis, Centerville resident as well. I agree with everything that's been said tonight. I also would love to have some pickleball courts. My first choice was community park just because of the amount of courts, but I know I've been told 8 to 10 here. Is that still sound right?
Right now, it's eight.
If it was here,
Eight
it's,
proposed courts at Community Park is what it is right now.
oh, 8 at community? Mm-hmm. Thought it was more than that. So what about Smith?
6, isn't it?
Smith
The
is
six.
8 to 10, depending on the layout. Community Park was 12. Tonight it was shown as 8.
6 to 8 at Smith, so I don't want to go into discussion, public comment.
Just
but
curious.
it's 6 to 8, really tight with 8 here at Smith, and 8 to 12, actually 12 could be considered a
Yeah,
community park,
okay,
but we're only
community, okay.
proposing
I think
8.
that's what I remember. So anyways, that's why I was for it. But again, the sooner the better, because all the surrounding towns have so many more courts, I think, than Centerville. We have, I think, Island Park, that's about it. So yeah, more the better.
Thank you. Others from the open session?
I'm Carl Petrini, new resident here in Centerville. In regards to the pickleball courts, would appreciate consideration being given to the type of sport that it is. Many young and old and community-oriented families can participate in the sport and do so frequently. The area for parking is a concern, so whichever park that's at, everybody seems to drive one car, for adults, older people, but when you got families that come down, and give consideration to the type of systems that are used there for open play, as well as scheduling. But my concern there is it's something that can bring family and community together. I like the community park, only because there's so many other activities going on there. And the other thing that's very challenging in this particular environment is the cost of participating in some of these sports. It's cost prohibitive for some families when they're putting 3 and 4 or 5 kids. Pickleball is a very low end of the scale as far as investments are concerned, and something that family can do together, and it's one of the fastest growing sports in the world. So right now, given that consideration, I wouldn't be surprised to see it in our high schools in the near future and some of these other youth oriented type things. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Carl, appreciate that. Any more voices on the open session? for this topic or any other topic? Anybody online, Jennifer? So, not generally an open session for all that you, so that you guys know, is a chance for us to take in as council your comments for consideration. As some of these things that are brought up or could be put on a future agenda. This particular case, a few months ago, it was discussed, the 3 parks that I had mentioned, and the council voted in a close vote to go with Community Park. There's still some concerns out there, but as far as getting pickleball courts in, I think you have a council and a body that wants to get pickleball courts in. I mean, this was a process that started many years ago. We even did a field trip out to Farmington and played some pickleball, the council members as well too. So we know that the passion is there, and we feel that passion as well too. We were only able to do 2 up at Island View, and that's because of a pipeline that was up there. We have some developments that going in that maybe help with impact fees, but we'll probably have to, between impact fees from parks and grants and donations, that's where we'll probably look to come up with this money for pickleball courts. So, we are hearing, we had a work session earlier tonight on conceptual design, and later on in this meeting, we'll discuss that conceptual design and the cost of that as well too. So, do we have some online? Is that what
There's somebody trying to connect. I'm not sure if
okay,
they
but
want to
do we
make
don't
a
have
comment.
anybody else for the open session?
Well, I don't know if this person wants to. Kyle, do you want to make a comment in the open session?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment towards, I know there's been a lot of talk on pickleball. I was watching on the YouTube channel, I was having a hard time getting in here on Zoom. I am a firm believer that pickleball is a great sport, and there are a lot of people that would love to play it. But, and I've discussed this before in city council, that I think there are other options that are often overlooked, such as restriping tennis courts to be multi-purpose courts. The Centerville court over at Smoot Park could very easily be striped to be dual purpose without much cost or fanfare. I feel like Smith Park is trying to be shoehorned into something it isn't. It's a location that has historically been a great place for gatherings. It's quiet, it's next to an elementary school, there's not very great parking, which is one of the primary reasons that we were given that we moved the 4th of July, is that it just wasn't accommodating. I think trying to shoehorn something like pickleball courts into that space is going to create noise for the school, noise for the city, noise for the neighbors there that have historically had what some have referred to as a passive park. I think there's wisdom in kind of keeping like activities to like spaces. So, you know, sporting events, we have a community park that is geared and based towards sporting events. That's the designation, that's kind of what it's been designed for. Whereas Smith Park has historically been one that has been a lot less noisy, for one, but also more of a place you can come and be a little bit quieter location to have a picnic or to spend time with your small children and things like that, that's not in a disrupted space like the basketball courts or the baseball diamonds or the soccer fields or anything else. I think it's probably wise to keep it in a type of facility like that. Anyway, those are my thoughts on it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Kyle Green, 433, Centerville resident.
Thank you. Any others online?
No.
Any other matters that people want to comment on in the open session? Thank you. We appreciate all your comments. Let's move on to the business items. The first item is the solid waste collection service agreement. Nate, do you want to come up and talk with us about that?
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, council. First, I'd like to point out that we do have Don, I'm sorry if I butchered your last name, Don Bagley, with Ace Disposal here with us. If it's all right with you, Mayor, I'd like to give her some time after I introduce this. So before you tonight, we have an opportunity to extend our contract with Ace Disposal. Ace Disposal provides all of our green waste, recycling, and disposal services for the city. We first entered into an agreement with Ace back in 2018. The initial contract was a 5-year term, which is set to expire on June 30th of this year. Now, there's a section of the contract that allows the city and Ace to extend this agreement for up to 2 years, or I should say in 2 terms of 2 years each. So before you tonight is the first 2-year term of that extension. You'll see a letter from Ace as part of your packet. They're proposing a slight increase in their fees. And I do want to note that during those 5 years, they had 0 increase in costs. There were no fuel increases or any costs per the contract. So this is the first increase in 5 years. They proposed the CPI amount of 7.1%. And you can see in that letter what it would put the monthly container rates. I do want to note that their initial proposal was to increase the CPI of 7.1% this year, as well as year 2. As staff, we countered and asked them to cap it at 5%, and they have agreed to that. So this year it would be a 7.1% increase in the container rate, and then year 2, it would cap at 5%. Our initial discussions, we talked about capping it at 5 and then rolling over the excess. Should CPI come in higher than 5%, we talked about rolling that over into future years. But as Lisa Romney, our attorney, pointed out, that this is just a 2-year contract, so we aren't able to do that. But Ace may come back after year 2 with that proposal, just so council's aware. But for now, the contract is, again, just the CPI rate of 7.1, and then CPI next year with the cap of 5%. And with that, if it's all right with you, Mayor, I'd like to turn some time over to Don to address you.
You bet. Yeah, come on up, Don. Just give us your full name and where you're from for the minutes, the record, okay?
Don Beagley from West Jordan City, and I've been working for Ace Disposal for 23 years, coming this year.
Wonderful.
And we've been really proud to be servicing your city. Hello, Mayor and Council. This has been just a really wonderful city for us to service. We just picked up West Point last year, and so it kind of really fits into all of our cities that we do up here in this area. Personally, I actually take care of all of the cities. So any of the complaints that comes from the residents, the cities and everything, I get those. And we really have not very many complaints at all from any of your residents. And I hope everybody knows that if anybody puts a can out late or we miss them, you can always call us. We're in your city 4 days a week, and we can get you guys all picked up. So I think our drivers out here, they have really take pride in your city and they do want to do a great job for everybody, because nobody wants me to be calling them. So I just want you guys to please extend the contract. Do you guys have any problems, any concerns, anything that we can do better for your city in the next 2 years?
Bill may ask a question. Go ahead, Bill. Because I think
Not a complaint.
Oh, good.
I can't remember exactly what, I think it was a holiday schedule, and just recently, I couldn't find whether or not my day had slipped a day, and so instead of being on Wednesday, it would have been on Thursday. And I was looking at the city website and your website and couldn't see anything saying that.
So it was for Christmas or was it for New Year's?
I don't remember. It was one of them.
Okay, because this is, where Christmas and New Year's both happened on Sunday, we did get some people that were confused because you guys are off, as a city, off on Mondays, But if a landfill's open, we want to pick up the trash. We don't want to be delayed a day. So the landfills were open on Monday, the 25th, and the 1st, so we was able to pick up your guys' trash on Monday and carry on like a normal week. But when Christmas does fall on Monday, we will be delayed a day. And that, it should have been on both your website and our website. And that,
I'm not always the best at looking, but I can't find it.
I'm with you. I believe you. But anything else? I mean, and one thing I kind of did think about that, because this is kind of the first year it kind of fell, that was so odd this year and that. I think that we should do is just kind of like remind the cities and let's put something out in the papers a month before. That would be a great reminder, I believe.
I will tell you, I think you guys do an amazing job.
Thank you.
I'm out and about a lot, and your drivers are very friendly. I can't tell you how many times I see them get out of a truck and pick up garbage that's fallen out of a garbage can. I believe they go way above and beyond. I'm very impressed with your workers, and like I said, I see it a lot, and I have just been amazed at some of the things that I've seen them do, and they're always very friendly.
Thank you, thank you.
Bill did not ask the question that I thought he might ask.
Oh, so will you ask it for him?
So mine's just a practical question. When we talk about recycle, where does the recycle trash really go to right now?
So are you talking about the recyclables, or are you talking about the recycled trash that's
Recycled
put
bins.
into the
The
recycled
blue
bins?
Yeah, where
Okay.
does that go?
Okay.
Bill, rightfully so, has said, is this really just going to the landfill? And I'm just feeling warm and cozy that I'm really recycling? Okay, so.
Okay, so if you're following the guidelines with the recycling that's on your guys' calendars and everything and that, all of that stuff is actually going up to Wasatch Integrated. And Wasatch Integrated is pulling it, they have an assembly line. And another thing, if you guys ever want to go to their assembly line and see how they're pulling this off to recycle the cardboard, the paper, the plastic bottles and stuff, I can line that up. It's really is neat to see, and you really understand it more. But everything that is recyclable that the residents are putting in their cans, going up to Wasatch Integrated, everything is pulled off the line that is recyclable, separated in that. But then there is the people that do put stuff that is not recyclable in the recycling can, and that is, sent down the garbage line. So I'm just saying, but everything that is recyclable in those cans are recycled.
Great, and I ask that because some of the community say,
Yeah,
hey,
we've had
I'm
some
hearing that this doesn't happen. So I want to be able to respond with an educated answer. So thank you.
Yes, yes.
So, Brian, I would ask that I'll reach out to him.
Because you've asked that before.
Can we get Nathan Rich down here to a meeting sometime?
He's a great guy.
So he can explain all this, because obviously I see it firsthand being on the board of Wasatch.
Since you're the chair, aren't you his boss right now?
I'm the vice chair.
So
I guess we're all
you
his
can tell him
bosses,
to come.
I'll do that. But I saw
Yeah, I'm
him.
happy to coordinate that too.
I said we need to get you down, because I don't know that we've ever had him.
Right,
At
that'd be
any
good.
meeting that I've had. It's a lot of units for him to get to, because Wasatch Integrated Waste Management is more than just our county. Of course, they don't have Bountiful, they go up into Morgan County as well too, but.
Yes, and we take, our trash up to them, our recycles up to them, and they're so great to work with. I mean, they'll call me on the line and just say, Don, we just had a truck, break down in front of one of the gates and ask us to divert to another gate. I mean, they communicate so well with us to make sure that we can get the trash, off the streets for everyone.
So I got a question for you. I was talking with Mayor Vincent at West Point that you just signed a contract with. He says that, unless I misunderstood him wrong, that you're in their city every day. Is that correct? Where do you make that determination, how much you're in a city?
So we're proposing that to them.
Okay.
Right now.
It's
So
proposed right now then.
You are proposing that to them right now. We're working on it. So what we're doing right now is we're picking them up Tuesday and Thursday. I think for your residents and everything and that, if we're in your city 4 days a week or 5 days a week, that means that if there is a miss, somebody puts their trash out late, we can just, at the end of the route, after we finish Tuesday's route, we can go send somebody back if they missed you on Monday. So I think if we're in your, 5 days a week, then we can, and the thing is too, like what we like to do and that, a lot of the other haulers, they like to do 1 or 2 days a week because they can send their trucks, like 5 trucks out to West Point, pick everybody up, then they move on to their next city, like Wednesday and Friday. But what we like to do is be in your city 5 days a week, for that we can make sure that we take care of every single resident out there, because sometimes we forget to put our trash out, and sometimes, we might miss you. I mean, we never mean to, but, it happens. And that, so that's why we're proposing that. And then with the growth of West Point, we really think it would just really benefit them better to be 5 days a week instead of the 2 days a week. And another thing, what we're asking them also is the recycling. So right now, we do Tuesday, we do, once a week, because recycling's every other week, so we do it one day, then the next day. This way we'll be in the recycling 5 days a week in their city. So if the recycling missed, we will be in their city to grab their recycling also if it's out late. Did I answer it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just hoping that council could see why pickup's different in some cities than other cities.
Yeah.
And your methodology on that.
Yeah, and the thing is, like I was talking before, is the drivers commit to your city. I mean, when they're in your city, it's their city. Some of the older folks, a lot of you guys are pretty new in that, but Jenny, she's now one of our supervisors for Ace Disposal over this area, and that everybody just loved her. She was a lady driver that picked up Centerville. She was so proud of working here in Centerville and everything and that. And I kind of didn't tell people that we moved her to a better, up in the company and that, because I didn't want to disappoint any of the residents and that. But it's all worked out great because the other drivers all stepped up and they're doing a great job for Jenny because she's now their boss.
Great. Any other questions? Thanks for coming and joining us tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Questions. Nate, is it back to you, or are you good?
I'm going to make the recommendation.
You betcha.
Okay. I make the motion that we approve amendment number 1 to the solid waste, green waste, and recycling collection services agreement with Ace Disposal.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Let's roll call vote it. Councilman Meekum.
Aye.
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 That motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And if you guys ever want us to be part of any of your events, please don't hesitate to call on me, and we can help you with some of your events in your cities.
We could do the Waste Management Open Centerville City style.
Perfect.
Bryce will contact you shortly. Maybe on your way out, Bryce will send you an email.
Really, we would love to, be in front of you guys' especially and everything in that. So if you have any touch a truck events or something like that, we can bring one of our trucks up and, show them off to the children, safety and everything.
That's
So,
good to know, too.
all right.
Thank
Field
you.
trip.
Hey, thanks,
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll have to create our own golf course. All right.
See, that's all we're
We've
missing.
got Frisbee golf. Come on.
There you go.
Grandstands
Waste
around
management
Freedom
open
Park.
frisbee golf. There you go. All right, let's go to item number 2. This is the UDOT I-15 widening. We've had a work session on this. We discussed it, 3 weeks ago? Kevin, is there more that we need to know on this, or? Your name's here as a staff representative, but it was initiated by us. We asked you to go back and do this. So tell us, other than what's in here, what we should know.
Yes, Lisa drafted the wording of it. Corey weighed in on some of it. I also had one note that I added, but staff has reviewed this, and this is what's being proposed to send to UDOT. So,
Okay. This was option A. This is what we talked about on at least 2 occasions before. So,
And just for the public who might be listening, what's the purpose of this resolution? How does it help us?
it shows UDOT that the city has a united front in which option they'd like to see for the interchange at Parrish. And it gives reasons as to why that option is advantageous for the city as far as trail connectivity and walkability, pedestrian traffic across the interchange. So that's kind of the basic of it. But
Do we have the UDOT proposal up on the website?
In terms of,
Well, once we vote on this resolution.
You mean
everything-
link?
what, everyone's gonna wanna know what option A is that we just voted on, so.
Yeah, I mean, we can put that in.
I think it'd be good if we vote on it, we should at least have information for people to research.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, it's all on there in the minutes from the couple of meetings where it was presented, and we went through it in a fair amount of detail. Now, it'd be easier to find if they just put it on, you know,
Link it.
homepage and link it.
Well, I think the visual, I think that's what you're saying, is let's make it easy for them to see. I agree with you,
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah, it's there, but since this is gonna be an omnipresent issue for people for a while, it should be pretty easy to find the information.
I don't disagree with that at all.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I didn't miss something, maybe I did. Did we weigh in on reversible lanes versus HOT? I don't believe we did, but I'm
No,
just clarifying.
that's not
Okay.
That is
something
true,
that we,
because both option A and B have one or the other.
Yes,
correct?
there's
Yeah.
two options with it, so,
we only weighed in on the interchange options A or option B were the only that we weighed in on. Another thing that you could maybe include on the city's website is a link to I-15 website that shows all the material that's available, and it's pretty useful. They can scroll down through all of the options. It shows all the different cities' options, but that's where this information was grabbed from.
do you feel like, reversible versus HOT, UDOT's just gonna make their decision, they don't really care what we think? I know we had some discussion as a council about reversible and if that prevents cars from getting off and, you know, shopping in Centerville. I just want to make sure that we've addressed that as a council if we want that addressed.
And yeah, I'd like to see it addressed but we all need to agree. I'm not for the reversible lanes, but if everybody's not for the reversible lanes, could that be added to this before it's?
Well, the I-15 group already told us they're not in favor of the reversible lanes either.
Right, but it doesn't hurt for us to.
I don't think it hurts, you're
they-
right.
I think they hedged on that. I think.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to mix the two issues. I mean, if we want to put out a
Yeah.
separate resolution on that, I would like this to stand on its own as,
Just we are
this part we're
solidly-
solid on.
Right.
The other we dislike, but, you know,
And then maybe we'd like to do the other two then, separately.
just staff time. At least
Yeah.
let's write
I
it.
was gonna say,
I
I don't
agree
know
with
that
the-
I don't know that I have a strong opinion, reversible or HOT. I'm not sure where I stand on that one right now.
Okay.
I think the only point that I'm strong on with that is if it negatively impacts the businesses because they're losing traffic
Right.
due to locked in, lanes.
Because more or less.
That would be the issue.
Which is more or less what they told us, yes, it would do. And the one guy from Centerville said, or from Farmington said, yeah, it'd be great for us because everybody will come to Farmington.
We'll just put a little redirect there
I guess I'm a little mixed on that. I hear exactly what you're saying, and yes, but I do think the people that are using the lanes are commuters, and they will know the freeway and whether or not they want to get off. I mean, if it gets the traffic past our city and moving along, and we don't have to do this sooner than later, I mean, I think that's a point of discussion or thought too.
Yeah, there will still be 5 lanes that will be able to get off the exit. There will be 2 lanes that they'll be stuck, but hopefully they make that decision before they hit Rose Park. Yeah, I want to get off. I want to get off at the Centerville exit.
That was my point. It's like, once you're there, and you're there for a long time.
We're there for a while.
They won't make the mistake more than once, right?
I guess I feel that way because I'll be the one that's stuck in it. That's why I'm a little concerned. I just know it will be me that's
So based on what
stuck in
he
there.
just said, I'd probably want to discuss it
Yeah,
more.
I do
don't
feel
know if
like,
it
I do
benefits
feel
to-
like the I-15, the UDOT team would listen more to the city on the interchange, unless there was a statistic that we could show that said, hey, this is definitely going to hurt our businesses. But right now you have, what do you have, the 5 lanes plus the HOV, or you got the 4 lanes plus the HOV. So really, you're going to have as many, if not more lanes than what you already have.
And if you remember, that was my concern. I didn't want our tax dollars missing this.
Yeah, that's why I'm remembering is you mentioning that, and
Yeah.
I agree with you.
I don't know that
also
we have
think
much
that-
say in it, but
Yeah,
I thought I'd
also,
at least put that as.
But it couldn't hurt.
I think it's worth doing another resolution.
Yeah, just run another resolution that says, we are concerned, and really to the research capabilities to do that. we believe or we fear or we are concerned for our businesses and are offering objection, I think that kind of language, it can be easily done, and then UDOT can tell us.
Before we have a set language, I'm not sure I totally align with that, so I guess I'd want some input from our engineer on that, if you feel like, you know, maybe weighing in on moving the commuters past us because they're not stopping anyway versus is it, you know, is there potential of, I know you can't weigh in
I do
on-
think the idea of a separate resolution, because I see them as separate items.
I do
And
too.
I do think that separating them is a good idea. You know, my engineering brain makes me think that UDOT is probably going to look at the time statistics. And in 2050, the time statistics are 20 to 25 minutes less going from Rose Park to Farmington with the two exclusive lanes. So, you know, maybe they could be swayed, but there's going to need to be some pretty good answers. So, for example, on the overpass, they wanted to know where our trail connections were. Why did we want the trail connectivity on Parish Lane? And we were able to provide that. So you just have to provide, okay, this is our basis for why we, you know, just saying, well, we don't think we're going to get as many people into our city. I don't know if that's a statistic that's going to massively sway them, but there might be some arguments that could weigh on their decision. But I do think a separate resolution, I think, would be cleaner.
Based on what you're saying, I tend to align with what you're saying, that I'm not sure, if we don't have some way of, you know, proving that it could impact our business, I'm not sure it be with us to do a separate resolution. I mean, I think you brought up some good points. I think that's what I was kind of looking for, is just your gut reaction as to how UDOT will react to that.
They want to move traffic. I mean, that's the statistics that they're going to try to look at, and that's the ones that they presented, and they're on their website. I think it's a 20-minute difference, plus or minus. So, yeah, but I think there could be some arguments made, possibly. I don't know what they might be.
But you're saying is they're engineers, they're data-driven, and they're going to make decisions based off data, not emotions.
I think for the I-15 corridor, they're gonna base it on time. They're trying to move people from Rose Park to Farmington.
So Kevin, professional opinion, when do you think UDOT will decide which option they're going to go with?
They're going to be meeting with stakeholders, which includes Centerville City, over the next year. I think that the decision is supposed to be made this fall so that they can get moving on the next step. That's the timing that I believe is on their website.
Okay. So you think they'll stick with it?
Yeah, I know they're pushing. I think that they want to start construction in 2026. Every once in a while, they'll say 2027, but they're trying to hit that 2026 with a design-build team that can get things going on the ground.
Okay, thanks. So what I'm hearing is that I'm going to open for a proposal. You like this ordinance before us, but you'd like to see something in addition as well too. So does anybody want to formulate that in a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution 2023-02, referencing the Parish Lane I-15 interchange option A, preference of the council, and give staff direction to return with a resolution language for concerns issued around flex lanes or reversible lanes.
Second.
Motion is second. Further discussion to add to that or at all? It's good? Okay, Councilman Ince, start the voting for us. Going to the right.
Aye.
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 All right, that motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Mayor, just a quick question. Did you want to have a follow-up work session to make sure council's on the same page before we draft the resolution? Or are you wanting to draft the resolution and then you redline that resolution? in the
I think
meeting?
it would be helpful to do a work session, just so that we
Yeah.
get a chance to chat about
I
it.
agree. I just wanted to make
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
Just not an hour work session. Please keep that one to like 20 minutes.
Yeah, let's try and,
That's
not
really
a
hard for
separate
me,
work
George.
session
I
just
like
for
to-
that.
I know it's
I like
civil
to dive
engineer
into the
passion,
details.
And Kevin, it probably wouldn't hurt in advance of that work session just to call your contact at UDOT and say, hey, we're also thinking about providing a resolution on this. We want to make sure we give our council the full information between the two choices, so that you kind of come prepared with what UDOT has. Maybe you already have that. Maybe you don't need to make that call, so.
Yeah,
Take that for
one
what
idea
it's
too that kind of comes to mind is the idea of what West Bountiful City was trying to do. They were trying to get several of the cities to kind of come together on a resolution because
Interlocal.
that's really an issue that impacts, all of the South Davis County cities. So really, I think that's an issue that, we're going in on Parish Lane on our own, but if there were other cities that also could come up with rationale and reasons as to why they don't want the HOT lanes, that gives you a little bit more bearing maybe than just Centerville coming in. That's just an idea and a thought based on the West
Because my guess
Bountiful
is
meeting
West
that we went
Bountiful
to.
may feel the same. They don't want Costco to get bypassed either.
That was one of the things they brought up in the meeting that Councilwoman Hurst and I went to.
I was gonna say, and they were, West Bountiful specifically was concerned about, is it 3 businesses that, I'm not sure if HOT protects those businesses or not, but they're in harm's way of being lost.
The Fourth North area?
Yeah, it's the hotel.
Yeah, it's
and
the Fifth West
car
exit,
dealership.
so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, that.
Yeah.
Fifth
Those
West, that's what I meant, not
3 as
Fourth
you're
North.
coming off
That's
that.
strange exit.
Yes,
Yes,
thank you.
uh-huh.
The left exit, yeah.
Yeah.
So in adding to what Spencer was saying is that if you're talking to them, obviously they had numbers that they're able to calculate what time savings are. It'd be interesting to know if they have any research that's a like for like. Is there another community that is now bypassed that has seen an impact? If they've got data or even case studies that they could share, we can do our own research. I just don't even know where to start on that one.
I was gonna say, I don't think this has been done in Utah. It seemed like when we asked those questions, they were like,
California.
Pull those numbers from somewhere, so they've got to be making their analysis based on something.
I'm concerned about the safety also, so I'd like to see numbers on that.
California does have that, it was a Mayor Horrocks, and who was the other one that had lived in California and said, oh yeah, this is no big
Yeah, it was
deal.
the city manager from North Salt Lake that they both lived in California and they'd experienced driving in them and they thought it was a good experience driving in them. So the West Bountiful City manager did not get a lot of support for
He didn't, yeah, he
the-
did not get much at all.
teaming up, but I do know that they were opposed as a city or city council to the HOT lanes.
And I lived in California, I'm not sure, I can only think of maybe one highway that was that way, but.
You didn't drive the HOV lane, so where you get stuck on the bridge, right? Or the overpass and you can't get
No.
down.
Yeah,
Okay.
actually, that did happen to me once, but that wasn't the, the.
Carpool lane and you're
the-
stuck.
The high occupancy travel lane.
Yeah, they weren't getting a lot of support from North Salt Lake or Bountiful City.
And not from Farmington.
And Farmington, yeah, because people get out by the time they're to Farmington. So it might be Centerville and West Bountiful if that's the route the council wants to try to team up and partner. But I think that would go farther than just Centerville on their own.
Sounds like some calls need to be made to see if they'll come in on it.
I'll contact Dwayne.
So your comment about making a decision by Rose Park is quite valid, because I'm still on the southeast part of the valley where you have to make a decision long before to
Yes.
take I-215 east. I still miss getting to that lane in time, because I'm so used to so many years of just boom, being right there to go east, so people gotta get used to that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because that one's a long ways out there in advance, so,
Yep.
yeah. So, thanks, Kevin.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to item number 3. This is what we had in our work session earlier when we had Mike here and Kevin here and Bruce here. What I think we're mainly looking at here is, as we discussed in the work session, we had given staff the around a $10,000 estimate, as far as cost, and G. Brown has come in with a higher estimate than that. So that's one thing that we need to discuss on this, and other comments that council may have. So, thoughts further than what I just said?
I just want to make the comment that while the proposal from G. Brown came in higher, we talked about this in the work session, but so that the public knows from this meeting, it is not a conceptual plan, which is what we approved in June, was up to $10,000 for conceptual plan. This is for the entire design and construction oversight. So just so that there is awareness that that is different for the public.
Yeah, and there were several comments from the public that I was taking notes on, and the general themes are just get it done. That was the number one theme I heard. And then the second was related to the location. And, in due deference to the public, having been on the other side of the dais many times, commenting on public issues, there's a problem when sometimes the hyperbolic argument comes across that if we don't do this, the result is something else. And when it comes to like this particular location, as I've been doing the research, and as G. Brown told us that down south some of our neighbors have had to put in sound barriers and stuff like that. I just read an article on Orem that says they don't help, and what they've actually had to do is restrict their hours on play. And then several cities around the country and residential areas are actually saying, okay, we're to appease residents who live near these structures. They're saying, well, we'll only have 4 days of play a week or 3 days of play, and they're needing to do things that are, I'd say, damaging the facility and its usefulness. And I'm just going to go on record as saying, we've talked about, there's the argument of what is a passive park or a quiet park. The interesting part is there's not a lot of case law yet as to lawsuits on pickleball noise. But they're out there. There's several of them that are out there. So I think as a council, we are well and clear able to say you do not have an expectation of quiet if you live next to the community park. I think that's fair and clear to say that. And although we will probably field some resident complaints about pickleball, I think we're very clear to say that's the property that you live by. I think that other locations, we're going to have to be very careful about the impact related to cities. In fact, Park City has just enacted a bunch of ordinances for private parties who want to install pickleball courts. They have to basically crawl through broken glass to get their conditional use permit, and it's all around noise abatement. So I think it's an issue that's going to plague us wherever we put them. But I feel very comfortable in going big in Community Park. Also, the site location, we've all walked it, I'm sure, at this point. It's my mosquito abatement hat on. Gosh, I'd like to get rid of all that standing, messy, nasty area and make that nice. So I think we'd be losing some mosquito habitat along the way. So I'm happy to see that. And as far as this proposal, yes, it is more comprehensive than what we originally asked for, but it also puts us into a construction mode, which gets us to the finish line that I think the public is asking us for. I think if we stick with just a conceptual, then the public is right to say, you guys aren't moving on this fast enough. We would like some courts. So I'd say, go whole hog, get this proposal in, paid for, get the first set of courts in, and let's start to manage what happens when we have more than 2 courts and the issues that come along with that. That's my thoughts at this point.
Thank you, Councilman. Others?
Well, I brought up my questions to the council in the work session, and I appreciate everybody responding to those. My concerns obviously were with I-15, spending money on design and then having I-15 disrupt something that we've already either designed or constructed, and I don't want to say waste money, but You know, do you get the full utilization of that money? Also, the concern about the fact that community parks are self-sustaining green park, and I hate to see grass that doesn't need to use secondary irrigation, that's internal irrigation, go away. It could be debated, but I worry that locating those pickleball courts at community park, it becomes a regional use as opposed to a community use. But those are my concerns, and what I think I saw tonight was the residents saying, look, generally my preference is just to have pickleball courts. I know there were some people that said Smith Park is the best site, and there were others that said, I don't really care.
I felt like it was about half and half.
And that went contra.
I don't think it was nearly half. I think there were 3 people that were very pro Smith Park, 1 person very pro community park, and everybody else didn't care.
But you were unanimous and just build some, please.
Right.
That we got
Yeah,
clear.
and
Yeah,
so
that's we got clear.
as a council member, I stand as at least taking that input, saying, okay, I have my personal opinion, but the community has spoken, who actually have attended and been on record. We do have some emails on record as well about Smith Park, but I can't discount what other people have said in taking their time to come to here tonight and saying, I just want pickleball courts.
Right, I think they do.
I don't say, I stand corrected is probably too strong a word, but I stand continually educated by what the public wants.
I think pickleball does have some noise. I don't think it's that noisy personally. That's what I was a fan of the Porter Walton Park initially, because there are homes there, but it's farther away from homes than the community park here, and I liked it as a court park. I'm concerned more about lights. It seems like our community gets caught up with lights. We turn our lights off so early in our parks. I sometimes wonder why we have lights when we're shutting them down. It gets dark at 9:45 and we're shutting down our Smoot tennis court lights at 10:15. You know, that there's, I guess, as you get to certain times of the year, if it's getting dark at 8, then you got a little more light. But so,
Yeah.
And we have had lights on a ball field down there. And there's residents right there that I don't know that we've seen any complaints. So, I mean, that's one that we never discussed. But you probably have heard me many times, at least 2, where I said, I just want to get them in, you know, as well too. So even though I have a preference on a spot, I just want to get them in.
Yeah, I agree. I want to reiterate what Spencer said about, you know, I am sad to pull out grass in a sustainable park that we can collect water, and so that part I am not happy about, but I think overall we just need to get it done.
I agree.
I agree with exactly the way you're saying, and I am offended at covering up grass down at Community Park, but I still think Community Park is the place to go.
I think one thing we might have learned tonight actually is how passionate people are to get pickleball courts in sooner than later. So
Right.
our budget process may be a little different in terms of how much are we looking to fundraise versus how much of it are we willing to contribute as part of our budget, our capital.
I really wanted to say to the people from your group who have been here before talking about it said they were going to raise money on it. We haven't seen or heard of anything like that happening.
And this may
Is
be,
there a
this
mechanism
creates,
for them to do that? Like, we talk about the community foundation as a mechanism to do that. Is that a way to do that, Brant? And if
Sure.
so, have we said to them,
Maybe they haven't done
hey,
it,
get
there's not
going,
a-
we'll,
Right.
So we're in a weird phase with community foundations. We're still in the process.
We're still in that transition
Both-
process
yeah,
right now?
Yeah, so we're almost there. We're almost there. John Hollingshead is prepared and ready to set up the new community foundation. But we don't necessarily need the community foundation. I mean, if the Parks and Rec Committee wants to lead the charge on the fundraising effort, they're welcome to do that, and we can accept those donations at the city tax exempt, right? So we don't necessarily need third-party 501c3 to assist with the fundraising, we can do
Okay,
that.
we can do
And
it.
so if the Parks and Rec Committee, I think it'd be the most logical to assist with that. We can create a subcommittee to that committee, right, where we get others involved that are on the committee to help with the fundraising efforts. Those that are passionate about pickleball, they would be the best to
Well,
help
the
with
one
that.
lady here said that she had been put on a fundraising committee and they were just waiting to get going. Like, they were waiting for us to say, okay.
And I don't know anything about that.
Jocelyn Cowwood did.
Yeah. So she talked like there was something already put and ready to go and they were just kind of waiting for our go-ahead to, I mean, they can't really raise money till we say, okay, we are okay, here's where they are, we're starting.
Would it be prudent, I mean, I guess I feel like it might help them to know, hey, the city's willing to fund this portion, you know, based on some ballpark figure,
This is a
that
Bryce thing that can help
appropriate?
us out with, you always have like a goal, right, of how much you're gonna try and raise, and if it's 50%, then that's what we put out there. Our goal is 50%.
Okay,
But Bryce would be great at helping kind of establish that fundraising effort in terms of the goals, but of course, we need the help from the volunteers to help raise
I
them.
did have one resident call me this week and say, I'm just so frustrated because you guys will approve this, but then you don't have any way to fund it. That was her frustration about it. And so I think it's important that we talk about what is an appropriate, you know,
And that's why we said tonight, I think that was kind of evidence, like, hey, let's get this done. So it almost changes the mentality of, boy, is this a higher budget priority now in terms of, is there
yeah.
it almost seems like, is there a commitment we make as a council to say, we're at least going to match donations?
And can we get staff looking into potential grant options?
Oh, absolutely, right now. I mean,
Okay.
this data helps us with the conceptual, and we'll need some of that preliminary work from G. Brown Design done and
Sure.
ESI. But
I'll
from
just
there,
say
we
that
could submit.
For reference for the council, so, I know an individual who has his own personal pickleball court. He has friends that are kind of semi-pros, and they love playing on his outdoor court that's lit. So that total is about $50,000. So you can kind of say, we should be near that $400,000 mark, $400,000 to $500,000.
Then you'd have the cost of the 30,000 here, so 500,000, I think, is your total.
Well, I'm
cost.
saying 400 plus 30, and then add some contingency on top of that. You get to between $400,000 and $500,000. Just for the council to know. That's anecdotal evidence based off of an actual job that I know and have seen an invoice to.
So
Oh, and I did call and they said, courts similar to Farmington that they built, but they're still building them now in today's dollars, 40,000 without lighting. So I think you're,
So one of
Per court.
the advisors for the Farmington courts is the individual that I'm referencing.
okay.
So that tracks.
if we adopt this entire proposal for the 19,000 and whatever the final number was there, the expectation is, at least from my perspective, is that we have now committed, we can start fundraising tomorrow because we know the site, we're committed to the site, and we're good to go.
Yeah, because we're going through all 4 stages if we adopt the whole thing.
Yeah, if we adopt the whole thing, there's nothing that prevents us from saying, okay, we heard you loud and clear, now we gotta raise the money. There's only so far we can go on concept and looking for grants. If you want to accelerate the timeline, then that has to come with participation from, public funding sources.
And what Bryce has also brought up, we need to have probably a sit-down work session on this effort with those that are gonna help fundraise, because there are mechanisms such as court sponsors or bricks that they sell. There's different ways that Bryce has brought up.
The ACE disposal,
Right.
Centerville pickleball court.
So there are different ways. It just depends on how much sponsorship you want involved and how much you want a community without the banners, and it just depends on what we want that to look like, right?
I like the ACE one, as long as the banner says here you can talk trash.
There you go. Good job, George.
Oh, my
I
gosh.
like that.
They're gonna hire George to do some
Yes,
marketing at ACE.
So I do want to ask a question since our police chief is here. Relative to the lighting issue, when is the expectation from the police department that the community gets quiet, like noise ordinances? 10,
Is it
10:30,
10 to
11?
6 a.m.?
Not 9 o'clock. So the question is, so the mayor had made a comment about, we turn our lights off so early, like 10:15. what is the expectation from Lloyd's ordinances? When is the community supposed to be quiet?
So, in our city code, if you're using power tools, construction tools, things like that, it goes from 9 PM till 6 AM. That's the restricted area. And then other than that, it's just disrupts the peace and repose of a neighborhood, which is kind of hard. It's hard to prove that. But if they're operating power tools, construction equipment, stuff like that,
So theoretically, we could run the lighting longer in the park?
there's no prohibition regarding lighting, but the sound ordinance is 9 to 6, so. Personally, I think, once you go past 10 o'clock, then that's an issue, but all the parks close at 10.
Yeah, I was gonna say, our parks close at 10.
Yeah.
I thought
So
the
you're
noise
not-
ordinance was 10 to 6, so that's
So-
not correct.
So you're not, there's nothing you're allowed to do in our park after 10 o'clock.
Yeah, after 10 o'clock, they all close, and I think that's the expectation is once you hit 10 o'clock, the lights should go off.
Nothing good happens after 10 o'clock.
I thought it was 3 in the morning.
That's when everything good happens.
He's gonna pass out. Bill.
I'll leave that one alone.
I feel like we should move on.
I don't want to grow up in Robin's house. I do want to grow up in Bill's house.
Wow, he said Bill. Anyway. So, we're getting off track a bit, but good question. Thanks, Chief. Back to this. So what's our thought? We're mainly looking at G. Brown's proposal here, whether we like it or dislike it.
I'm inclined to adopt the entire thing, extend our budget and,
Well, and our budget, to George, is task 4 is construction period. So you're never going to incur those costs until construction actually
right, but
starts.
if we give them the full upper limit, that there's no restriction for, because we only gave 10, you wouldn't get all of this done in 10. So,
Right, we need to
They're gonna
increase it to the 19, but do we also need to does ESI need additional funding for their 10 to 15 that he mentioned?
So since we contract with them, it doesn't need to be like a separate resolution, but that would be great to be part of the motion saying, just giving us some
think we
direction
should-
administratively.
There's so many.
Unless Nate wants something different. Nate's got that. Okay.
I'm gonna say, there's so many things in that proposal that say ESI needs to handle this that I think it really does need to cover.
So that's part of that'd be great to be part of your motion to include a thing there.
well, let me give it an attempt here and let's see how this flies. So I would motion that we approve the G. Brown proposal for design services for the pickleball courts on the north end of Community Park for $19,580. And that we make allocation for ESI engineering to provide professional services as required in support of G. Brown design services, with the expectation that those charges are tracked independent of normal services and are reported to the council monthly.
Do we need to
Reported
include
monthly.
anything about the geotechnical report?
No, I think that'd be included with subcontracting out.
I could go quarterly, just so that, because to the cost controls issue, you don't know how much you're spending until you're spending, right?
Well, why don't we just put a ceiling on it, and if it goes over, then they come tell us?
Raise the number of thousands of dollars you need, Kevin. Is that 10,000?
Let's put it at 10.
All right, so let me
and
scrap that motion and start again. How about a motion that we approve the proposal from G. Brown Design Services for the fixed fee total of $19,580 for design services for the pickleball courts on the north end of the community park, and further allocate $10,000 with a 10% contingency for ESI to provide services to the city in support of this proposal.
Second.
We have a second. We do have a second.
So that's 10 plus.
Further discussion?
I raised the issue about what I think at least was poor design on Island View Park on that slope with the bark. I think they should have recognized that that was going to be a travesty. I seem to be in a severe minority, but have we talked to anyone besides George Brown?
Hugh Brown?
Hugh Brown.
Bruce isn't here, but yes, we did reach out and their costs were significantly higher. I thought that was included in there, but that's, we did do an informal RFP.
I'm not negating what you're saying. I think for me, Bruce had mentioned it was due to the wind, which, I mean, my yard was a mess after the wind as well. Also, that park is just the way it is it's just a big steep slope.
If you've got the premier designer, I would have thought they might have come up with a better solution.
We have the premier designer, but we didn't have the budget, right? We were already making cost cuts, so if you wanted premier, actual install, then we would need to increase our budget by a lot more, and we were cutting things out, including shade structures. So there could have been a solution to it, but the question would be, would you be willing to pay it? Whether it's more retaining walls to make it more level so you don't have that slope. There's a lot of other options. The rocks, of course, would be a much better option, but they're far more expensive than bark. $120 a ton versus bark that's $10 a ton. So it just depends on what your cost. So after the fact, we can look and say we could have done it differently. But I came on during this time, and there were a lot of conversations of how do we reduce costs. This is getting really expensive. So I think they could have seen a better design if we had the money to support what they would have proposed.
Is it still an issue, Bill, or has it just been a historical issue? Because I know during the windstorms in 2020, I lost all of my bark.
Yeah.
It was just swept
I lost
clean.
my bark in
Yeah, I guess,
2010,
when did
12.
this happen?
I just have never.
You just haven't put it back.
There's no bark at my house.
But if it's still an issue, maybe
It
it's something we should
wasn't
address.
just, it wasn't, in my recollection, it wasn't just the wind, it was also the rain. And
When did it happen? Just
Well, it
out of
was-
curiosity.
The runoff issue was something that we got recently, in the last few months, if I remember right. The washout, but that was addressed as a separate issue, not a design issue, but an existing infrastructure issue.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
But I will say,
tell you exactly when it happened, I
I
don't.
can't either, but I do know that Stephanie came to council because she lived right there and said she had pictures and literally it looked like the road was bark. It had came off in a
It was bad.
rain. It was really bad.
but I will share as someone who has a lot of rock in their yard, it's not good for plants. It reflects, it carries a lot of heat, and it kills the plants. But I won't do bark because of some of these reasons that I'm worried about it floating away. But I will say it's a different type of plant I have to use. It's a little more tolerant to the heat because it will heat up and.
I'll
kill
give
the
you some of
plant.
my spurge. It grows right through rocks. It doesn't.
Anyway, pros and
Saying
cons
just
of all
plant
things.
spurge
I
and
mean,
it'll be good.
I put rock in the park strip, and it's like, I get more spurge now than I ever had when I had grass. I'm like,
This is down the road and off topic, but the resident that called me about the pickleball courts this week, she also mentioned, she said, hey, be really careful about the plantings around those, the leaves, the bark, all of that stuff stains and ruins the pickleball courts. So at some point, we're gonna wanna make sure that we consider, that we don't wanna wreck our investment with,
On any bark.
yeah, we probably don't want any bark around those at all.
And I think that's what Bill is concerned with, is we don't want to make any more of those mistakes. So we probably need to, I think we should have been a little more active in the.
We'll see a schematic plan at some
Yeah,
point and be able
at some
to comment on it.
So in deference to some of the comments that came up from the public, what I would, and this is separate of the vote that we're taking, is I'd really like to have Bruce tell us what are his plans for the park, just if it's grassing it over, if it's xeriscaping, or what are his water-wise ideas for that area? But not tonight.
more parking. I just asked.
More parking is fine.
I'm
Well,
kidding,
whatever
I'm
it
kidding.
is, we just need to know what
I'm
it
kidding.
is.
We
But-
might need more parking.
Which park?
For weekend parking.
More parking.
Let's vote. I don't think,
I'm being facetious.
Bill takes the comments. I don't know, there's further, let's vote, should we? Councilman Summerhays.
I will vote aye, but on the record with all of the other previously stated concerns and misgivings.
Okay, thank you.
I am also voting aye, but I would also like to state my concerns about the water, the I-15 expansion, but aye, yes.
Councilman McEwen?
Aye.
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 Okay, that passes 5-0. Let's go to the water line easement. Are you here for that?
I am. We got anything to say?
Thanks for waiting. We're gonna have Kevin come up.
I feel like he needs to come up.
He can put your arm around you, whatever, but thanks for waiting this out, okay?
If you
We-
don't
we
talk, you have to dance.
We thought you were even a diehard pickleball fan.
Yeah, this is Chad Randall. He works for Tom Construction.
Awesome.
So the item at hand is around the building that they constructed at the southeast, I believe it's Lot 2. I think we called it Building A. Anyways, that existing building, when they came in for a plat amendment, we noticed that that water line easement had not been yet recorded. We have a fire hydrant line that goes around that building. And so that's what this item is. It's separate from the amended plat to the Parish Creek PDO, but it is a culinary water line easement around Building A that allows us to get in and fix our line if we had a leak, for work on our fire hydrants. And so that's what this is.
Questions for Kevin on that? Or Chad as well too? He came and has waited this whole time.
The recommendation is just to record the easement?
Yes. Meets and bounds description, and Lisa's put it in the city's proper form. The developer provided the description and we checked it, and Lisa has put together the form.
So essentially, this is something we said we would do and it never got done.
This is something that should have been recorded with the original subdivision. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll wait for the water line to be constructed and do an as-built drawing, and then they'll record the easement. But you're correct, it's something that did not get done.
So just for
we've
the
caught.
record, Tom Stewart Construction has provided construction services for the boiler company for whom I work, but there's no beneficial interest to the boiler company. It's a competitively bid process, but.
You know, if you do want to recuse, just, I think it's going to get through either way.
Yeah, I think it will, but it's always
If that's a
good.
concern for you.
It's not a concern, but.
He just doesn't want to be criticized after the fact.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Transparency is better than not.
It is.
You should make that declaration.
I'll make a motion that we accept the water line easement from, is it Rimini or Rimini?
Both work.
Both work? Okay. Sounds good. From Rimini for the water line facilities located within the Parish Creek PDO.
Second.
Motion is second. Let's take a vote. Start Councilwoman Hurst.
Aye.
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 That motion passed unanimously.
Thanks, everyone.
It was worth waiting, huh?
Great meeting.
Thank you. All right, let's go to some training. Jennifer, all yours.
Before we
Hey.
move on, Mayor, Jennifer,
Yeah.
for personal reasons, I may have to excuse myself. How long will this training take?
It's the same that we did last year with our fun little Kahoot quiz.
Okay.
So
How many questions?
maybe,
I just want to make sure we're compliant with.
well, I mean, you can always like duck out if you need to, or if you don't want to log in and just answer the questions in your head,
I will stay.
it's totally up to you.
It will be quick. Okay.
It's just, I'd say maybe 15 minutes tops.
Perfect. Thank you.
But
That's what he was looking for.
Should I not play since I won last time?
And if you need to go.
Did you win, or did one of the other 5 brands win?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Everybody was named for it.
Okay,
So they all be
so
grants tonight?
if you
Okay, I
guys,
think Lisa actually didn't get any right.
if you guys remember, all you need is a phone or a tablet or whatever, some other kind of device, you can put in, you can go to www.kahoot.it, or you can scan this QR code to get in. Staff, you're welcome to participate as well. You do
As long
not,
as you use a brand nickname.
yeah, you don't have to use your own name.
How are we spelling that,
obviously.
Coot?
K-A-H-O-O-T.
K-A-H-O-O-T.
Okay.
I turned off the sound because I think the music is really annoying, but I can turn it back on if you guys want. 1, 2, 3.
You can add accessories to your people.
Brandon, you taking a picture to document that we're actually doing training? Oh, no, he's doing it for Mike. Thanks for helping out Mike there.
So this is where you get to guess if Mike is grumpy or.
But he was already in, so.
So I guess just for the record, we are required to do an annual training on the Open and Public Meetings Act. So we're doing this to hopefully make it a little more interesting rather than just me lecturing you. Okay, we've got 7 people in. There's 8. I'll give it about 10 more
If you're in
seconds.
this room, you're required to do it.
If anybody else wants to log in.
We're short a few. We need 11 minutes. Doesn't include Jennifer.
If I had to guess.
Chief,
We'd
Actually,
hate
I
to
don't
lose
wanna
our
guess.
police chief over this.
you don't have to do it. You don't want
Trying to
to.
get through my 350 emails.
I'm at 768. I'll take yours. You take
Okay, is everybody in that wants to be in?
Everything over 2 weeks? I'm fine.
Okay,
Email me back.
5,
Bring it back.
4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, here we go. I keep getting this warning. Okay. What is OPMA an acronym for? Operations of Public Meetings Act, Open and Private Meetings Act, Open and Public Meetings Act, Operations and Plant Managers Association.
Jennifer Estelle to tell you that you do get speed if you answer quickly.
Given your
Oh.
emphasis on one word,
Right.
I would just get it.
Or the
Yeah.
fact that my phone is
Tone.
decided it hates this.
5
I was gonna say,
seconds.
my phone
What
is
you
not
said, it's how
working
you said it.
very well.
Rigged.
Okay, it looks like 6 of you got it correct.
Who said blue?
Somebody said the Operations and Plant Managers Association.
Bryce? Bryce did it.
The correct answer is the Open and Public Meetings Act. And I did fail to mention you get points for guessing the correct answer and also for getting it the fastest as well.
Guessing or no?
Okay.
Don't listen to
Sorry,
Jennifer.
not
She's
guessing,
going too slow.
selecting.
Oh,
Yeah, it could be either a guess or no.
It's
Selecting is
I was
the
just
correct
trying to
term.
add some levity to this.
Who's up there?
Yeah.
Hey, Hazy Summer is in first place. Oh, Hazy Summer and Money
Hi.
Money
And big money.
tied for first place. Okay,
Not
next
very,
question.
Not very original.
How far in advance must meetings be noticed to the public? 3 days, 24 hours, 1 week, or 2 days?
Never.
7 people got 24 hours. That's correct. And I
doing this on purpose.
meant to go over some notes on the last one, and I forgot. Just going back to Open and Public Meetings Act. We all know this, but the purpose of the Open and Public Meetings Act is to ensure that the city takes its actions and conducts its business regarding the public's business openly. And that includes whenever there's a quorum present to discuss business, and that doesn't count like chance meetings, like social gatherings and stuff like that. But if that ever does happen, if 4 of you ever happen to be at the same party, just don't talk about city business. So,
4 or 3?
3, sorry.
3 or more.
Well, really any, just to be safe, but.
No, you can do it with
Okay.
2.
For this one, meetings do have to be published at least 24 hours in advance. As a city, just for good practice, we like to publish our agendas on Friday afternoons before a meeting on Tuesday, just to give people the weekend to review the record. Those meetings must be published on the Utah Public Notice website, the city website, posted here at City Hall, and they're also sent to newspaper correspondent as well, so that they receive notice. And then there are additional noticing requirements for various things like public hearings and elections and stuff like that. So, and some of those noticing requirements do vary and change. Okay. Next. Oh, scoreboard. Money, money, money is in the lead. I'm guessing that's Nate, because he's our money guy, but I don't know.
Where's the one?
How many members must vote to enter a closed session? 2/3 must be unanimous, only a vote in a second, or half.
You know, last year we did this on Zoom, and I feel like that was much easier.
2/3 is correct, and just to clarify, this is 2/3 of members that are present at the meeting. So if there's 5 members present, then
Did you get it right, Leonard?
So in our
Is
case,
that
if
my
there's
math
5 of
correct?
us, if there's 5 of us, that wouldn't be enough. If only 3 voted to enter.
No, that is enough.
That would be 60%.
60%, not 66.
That wouldn't be enough.
If 3 of us vote, if 5 present?
Correct. That wouldn't be 2/3.
Not 2/3.
Yeah, but you
Doing my
can't,
math right, thanks,
I
Bill.
know, I think you're right. I agree.
no, then you could never enter closed session.
No, you can.
No, you can with 4 or more.
4 out of
You have to
5.
have 4.
I guess, yeah, that works.
Didn't think about that. Should look into that. Okay, next. Grumpy just pulled ahead. Is that Mike? Just kidding. Sorry.
I thought it was water.
I'm not gonna guess it anymore. Sorry.
No, that's pretty awesome.
Which of the following is not a reason to enter a closed session? Pending or reasonably imminent litigation, character, competence, or physical or mental health of an individual, deployment of security personnel, devices, or systems, none of the above.
We answered that. Those are weird questions. I challenge how you asked it and how you answered.
Okay, most of you got this one correct as well. This was kind of a confusing one. It was kind of like a double negative. What's not a reason?
The total ACT question.
Not cool, man.
Those are all reasons that we can't enter a closed session, litigation, security, and,
Character competency.
yep. Good. Okay, Grumpy's still in the lead. Money, money, money is right behind. An audio recording of a closed session is not required if the purpose of the meeting is exclusively to discuss character, competence, or physical or mental health of an individual, pending or reasonably imminent litigation, the purchase or sale of property, deployment of security personnel, devices, or systems. Nice. This one was kind of another trick question. There were 2 correct answers in here. If we're discussing the character competence of an individual or the deployment of security personnel, an audio recording is not required. In this case, if we have one of these meetings, the mayor is required to just sign an affidavit saying, this is all we talked about. And then we don't have to have an audio recording of that
Are you
minute.
answering it wrong on purpose?
What? That's 2 in a row for me.
Somebody's trying to get the worst score possible. For all of our other closed meetings, audio recordings and minutes are taken, they're just not made public. They're kept confidential with the city. Any questions so far? Okay, Grumpy's in the lead. Will is on fire with a streak of 5 correct answers. Pretty close up there. Okay, minutes are the official record of a meeting. How long are we required to retain meeting minutes? 1 year, 7 years, 25 years, permanently.
I don't got my colors.
What?
I can't vote.
graphic? That's a pretty good one.
I did all of them. Permanently, we never delete minutes ever. Keep them forever. Grumpy is still in the lead. Will has a streak of 6 correct answers in a row.
Grumpy's gotta have 6 too.
Rantinator is struggling.
True or false? City council members may text and email each other while a meeting is convened. Nice. I think this is the first one we got 100% on. Yes, no texting or emailing each other while a meeting is convened. In addition to this, council members should also try to avoid creating like an electronic meeting through email or group messaging or things like that. Like, we shouldn't really be discussing ongoing business outside of an open meeting. So keep those in mind as we're just conversing with each other electronically and while meetings are convened. Okay, Grumpy and Will are really, really close. Grumpy has a highest answer streak of 7. Nice. Wait. Okay. What's the minimum number of members that must be present in an anchor location in order to hold an electronic meeting? 3, 2, 0, 1.
Trick question. Oh, I'll tell you. You have an answer. I don't know if I got it right.
Oh, this one is kind of a trick question, and I think we talked about it
We did last
a
year.
little bit more extensively last year with Lisa because of like COVID was a thing, and so electronic meetings were happening more often. Right now, we don't really have a policy in place, so we aren't required to have a certain number of people present at an anchor location. So the answer is 0 because,
I thought it was 1.
well,
We did have a,
I thought we talked about it and voted on it. I thought it was 1 too.
No, that's what we discussed last year. We had actually passed a resolution removing the need for anybody, so that's still in place, that it's still 0. Before, there was a minimum.
We
But
talked about the fact
as
that
of
if you
right
had a
now-
natural disaster or something that
Correct.
kept somebody from actually
And that's why
being
we have not-
here, we said, fine, we don't need anybody.
And that's why we
else.
have not changed that, just because of that flexibility.
and in that case, at least during COVID, we were having the mayor sign a determination stating that it's unsafe to meet at an anchor location, and that's why we're holding an electronic meeting. We haven't had to do that for several months now, but there's still no policy saying that, so. And I didn't update my Kahoot from last year, so this question is still in here.
Still a good one.
Okay, Grumpy's still in the lead, and he's pulling ahead, too.
yeah, Grumpy got that one, I didn't.
Okay, true or false? City council should avoid talking about matters that are not listed on the agenda.
You should throw it off by swapping true and false, so.
Oh, that's a good idea. I think this is a good gift, too.
That would be rude. That would be totally cool. Hey, if you like that other question with the not, then.
This is true. We do have an agenda for a reason. We're supposed to stick to the matters that are outlined on an agenda. Sometimes discussions do tend to ebb and flow a little bit. Obviously, we can't make any motions or approve any decisions that aren't on an agenda, but in general, we want to try to stick to the agenda as outlined because that's what the public has been notified of. And if we start discussing other things that aren't on the agenda, then that's not fair to the public. So, but no vote or action can be taken if it's not on the agenda, obviously. Okay, is anybody gonna pull ahead of Grumpy?
You think you dare do that?
Hey, a full audio recording is required from all public meetings except work sessions, site visits, special meetings, or electronic meetings.
What's your silly last question that you have on here?
What?
A silly last question.
Oh, I don't think I did one.
Oh.
Site visits, correct. One person said work sessions and you were wrong.
Way to let him down.
You have to have a full unedited copy of audio for all meetings except for site visits, as long as there's no vote or action taken. This includes like traveling tours or whatever fits into a site visit.
I like that you're passionate about that, Jennifer, since
However-
you're the one in charge of audio recording.
However, these instances still require noticing. So if you're going as a quorum to go on a site visit, we still have to notice that to the public so they know there's going to be a group there, but no votes or actions may be taken. Cool. I think I know who's going to win. All right, this is the last question. How soon must the audio recording and approved minutes be made available to the public? 24 hours, 1 week, 3 days, immediately. Oh, this is all across the board. The correct answer is 3 days. Thankfully.
Which one did
you? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, that's all. Any questions on the Open and Public Meetings Act?
Hit next. Who was in last place?
Who's
We need to have a
Oh,
top.
yeah, we have our final
We need to have a top and last place
podium.
person.
Third place,
They don't show last place, they just show the podium.
Who's
will
first?
he last? Second place, Brantonator, and first place, dun dun dun,
Most system resources, you can't display it.
is Grumpy with 10,257 points, and then we have runners up, and they just went away. I guess they. Hey, good job, everyone.
Thank you, Jennifer. Making it fun.
You're like those three-legged races with your son and just on for the ride because you're gonna win. He does not win at Ticket to Ride, I'll tell you that.
Thank you.
You just take your mind.
Thank you.
Well, I did one of those at Wasatch Integrated Waste Management last week, and we didn't have as fun a game as that, so. Thank you so much.
See you, Spencer.
All right, let's move on. We got minutes. We got January 17th work session and January 17th city council. Anyone have any changes to those minutes?
Motion to accept the minutes as recorded.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Let's go to appointments. So I've been busy getting people appointed, and I think we got about 2 left is all. So we're reappointing Mason Kerr, second term on the Planning Commission. Reappoint Haley Turner for a second term on the Parks and Rec Committee. Appoint Tyler Moss to the Planning Commission. Appoint Lane Jenkins to the Parks and Recreation Committee, and appoint Sean Hall to the Parks and Recreation Committee. I met with each one of these, the reappointments I just talked with on the phone. I, like I always do, got you the new ones, tried to get you a volunteer form, or I did get you a volunteer form and/or a resume. So those are the names that I have put before you. A motion to.
Motion to give advice and consent to approve the mayor's requested appointments.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, council. Council report, Councilmember McEwen.
Okay, it's cold, no mosquitoes for a while, but that doesn't mean that they're not coming back, so don't worry, we're gonna continue to have that. The district has been very successful in retaining its crews from year to year. They did increase their salaries, but this is always one, if you have somebody who's rather athletic who likes to bike, they do run a biking crew early in the spring that does tree hole mosquitoes up in Farmington, and then those are the ones you see that are dumping the pellets in the culverts. That one seems to be filled mostly by young people. So, if you know any young people who want to get paid to bike and throw tablets down a sewer drain, make sure that they're aware that that's coming up. There are some changes that will be coming up with Salt Lake City and Davis, or Salt Lake County and Davis County have been sharing a hangar jointly at Ogden Airport under an organization they call DISLASA. DISLASA as an organization will continue, but Salt Lake has expanded its mosquito abatement efforts and has purchased a helicopter and a few other things. So we're not going to be cohabitating in a hangar, and that will have some impacts, potentially financial in the future once that happens. It's probably another year or two before that the DISLASA organization will untangle itself that way. The Whitaker Museum, they would like to take their lecture series and start broadcasting that. So like a Zoom live stream. I'm in support of that. I think it's great. Any way they can do to increase their reach. I've been to a couple of their lectures over at the Whitaker Museum, and sometimes it's standing room only. So it'd be nice to know.
Many times it's standing room only.
True. Many times it's standing room only. So it would be nice to have a video option that they can include other people in the community. I figured I would throw that out, and I didn't think that there would be any issues from the council as far as getting them that level of support. And then it was listed that I report on South Davis Fire, but I don't, so I don't have
You can
anything.
just say you did it already. He was here.
I don't report on that one. But, yeah, really.
Well, you have the chief here tonight, do it for you.
Chief did it.
Mayor would report on that one.
I will be attending the American Mosquito Association Conference, which is where they discuss all the new technology. As you know, the district has used drones, and we are looking at purchasing a larger drone that, right now we can carry a payload of 35 pounds of material, and they're looking to purchase one that will do 55 pounds. There is some problems with the supply lines for drones right now because the U.S. government is starting to crack down on Chinese technology. So like you've seen, the state says no TikTok on state devices. There is a move nationally to restrict DJI as a drone supplier from vending equipment into government organizations. And if that does happen, then you'll see a lot of organizations who will have to pivot. The district is planning on buying a commercially designed and manufactured drone that's US made, so we won't have that problem, but it is, again, it's an increased cost every time you do something that's domestic, so we'll have to see how that goes. Other than that, it's smooth sailing. I'm always proud to report that Gary Hatch lives in Centerville, and he's our district manager. He does a fantastic job. That is by far and away of government organizations that I've worked with, the absolutely best managed to the penny. They do great stuff with their fleet year in, year out, as far as rotating their fleet and keeping everything operational. They continue to win safety awards for their personnel and have some really low insurance rates. So kudos to Gary Hatch and to his staff at the Mosquito Abatement District for the work they do. And that's pretty much all I've got.
Thank you, Councilman McEwen. Appreciate that report. Any questions for him? Anybody else have anything critical right now before your turn rolls around again? Okay. We'll go to the mayor report. Wasatch Integrated Waste Management, further on what we discussed tonight, we had a big discussion. You know, I didn't realize until the last few months that, because we were so early on recycling in Centerville. I mean, how many years have we done it now? I can't remember. That,
6.
yeah, that there are cities in the district that don't have recycling. And so some cities and city councils are going back. There was a discussion in council meeting that, excuse me, in board meeting about that the district would be in charge of pickup, but then you'd have the district getting a carrier for all of us. District really doesn't want to do that, but the new cities that are wanting to implement recycling are wanting to do that, but I don't think that's going to come to pass. I think they're going to all do their own contract, just like you heard that West Point had done it. So that was the big thing that came out of that. Like I said, the feeling, and as an executive board, and Nathan Rich, he likes the carriers picking it up. He doesn't want field calls, complaints, from people that they wants them to call a carrier. Along with, I want to ask your opinion. I got a call about potentially a piano for City Hall, Kimball upright piano. All Keys work in is good condition, and it would be donated to us. Do we see a need for a piano at City Hall? For any
Can we
programs
sit on
that take place, or?
Any chairs?
Do you play?
I'm sure the library would love if recitals moved over here instead of there.
I mean, I don't know when we bring the little kids in if we need it, or,
I say yes.
Jennifer will be practicing outside of the lunch. Oh, can I get lessons maybe at lunch?
Sure.
I'm doing, yes, we're gonna do, I'm gonna do
If
piano
there's a
lessons at
place
lunch.
to put it, I think it would maybe be nice for when the kids
You put it in my
choirs
office.
occasionally come.
It would be
But I don't
kinda
know if
nice to
it's
listen to
worth-
piano music all day.
She'll just have it in her office. There's where you can.
We'll need to hire a new city recorder.
Well, no, seriously,
She's gonna be busy.
if we do accept the donation, are we planning on putting together a fee schedule for usage? Like the library, you pay, they do, those recitals at the library where they pay like $5 or whatever for the use
Oh,
of
and
the
that-
piano and all that stuff? Or is it just a free amenity, anyone can come in? I'm being serious, I'm not trying to be flip, I really wanna know
I
what our
guess in
plans
my
are.
mind, I wasn't thinking that we'd use it for that. That's a possibility you could do. I was thinking that it's here for, like, a program comes in the elementary
Yeah.
school.
It looks like we have
know-
plans right here coming up.
Bryce got all excited.
Bryce,
Feels like a donation.
I heard free and I was up here. No, like when I was in Hurricane, we did a community choir. So that's was something I was thinking of that, you know, if the council whatever wanted to do like a community choir, piano was one of the most expensive things for that. It'd be kind of
They're
fun.
expensive.
Did they open up the usage to just anyone in the public, or how did that work out?
So the piano itself,
Well, yeah, so I'm taking the, piano teacher wants to bring her students in here instead of the library. Was that something that Hurricane did, or how did
yeah.
they?
So we had also rented it out for piano recitals.
So they did put a fee schedule and, okay, I'd say, yeah, and then put a fee schedule and let people know that it's available.
But
Just
do
something
we
to think
have
about.
somewhere to store our piano?
Yeah.
That's my
Right next to
concern,
the tables.
is, we're already storing things.
I know. We lack storage here.
It'd be upright probably along a wall in here, unless you guys can think of a better room.
I mean, is it a
It's,
new-
Take it, and then
it's
we'll
on,
figure
it's on wheels. It could be rolled, which is nice.
I mean, is it fairly
It's-
new or is it?
Yeah, it actually comes out of the Logan Institute up at Utah State.
Probably not, it's probably not too bad.
And it's in good condition.
Are they
I
transporting it
haven't
here?
seen it. They will transport it.
I don't know how many piano teachers would come and do a recital here with an upright piano. Just saying the
that a thing?
library has
Right.
a
Is that a
little
thing?
better.
Yeah, isn't
Well,
it?
it's sometimes.
I don't think they'll come here. They
I don't know,
have,
they might.
they have BDAC, they have the library.
So we had both. We had a baby grand in our fine arts center and we had an upright and we actually did more with the upright because it was a cheaper, more economical version. They used a baby grand, they had to rent out the 500 seat auditorium, so it was a little different. It might be more of an economical option. I mean, necessarily we don't want to take business away from other businesses, but I don't think of any other in town that offer that.
That's
But-
what my concern, isn't it fairly expensive to rent this?
This space?
Yeah.
No,
How much is this to rent?
It's kind of expensive.
isn't it, it's 35? Isn't
Well,
it?
there's a base rate to rent it, and then there's an hourly rate on top of the base rate, so it can get quite pricey.
So
Put
that,
a,
it-
If
I
it's a
feel like
concert and the
that's,
city staff is here, then many of those fees are.
I don't know, I think that fee schedule should be changed a little bit, like to a straight hourly, just so it's easier to schedule.
I'm just thinking, would a piano teacher pay?
No, but if we
I
left
don't
it
think
here
that's your
next,
primary audience right away,
Yeah.
right? Right now, the primary audience is potentially community choir. And if it expands beyond that, or we see different requests, then we can address those and evaluate those options.
I think it's, I mean,
Try it.
Yeah, I
I'm a
mean-
little worried about, like, does it just kind of
Right.
take up space and it looks a little obnoxious?
That's my concern is.
well, I think you could get a cover, we
trying to
could get a cover
declutter.
for it, it would be out of the way. I mean, we can move my old desk out so that's not so storagey in here, and it'd be
There's
fine.
room in the evidence room, there's always room down there. You just put down in the evidence
yeah,
room.
that's what they want to do is lift that up and down.
Did you just see his face?
But if you leave it there, if it gets placed in the back, somebody's gonna play incidental music during, Justice Court, and that won't work. So-
Can they do night court music?
No, I was thinking more like the film noir stuff, so, black and white accompaniment.
That's just one of those most expensive things to start up a program like that. So if it's donated and people are willing, even if we sit on it for a couple of years, I still think it's still worth,
I like your
That.
vision. I like
So-
your vision, Bryce.
All right, I got leaning towards it then, right?
Sounds like it.
Okay, sounds great. Then the last thing I have is, Bill and I and, Brent and Lisa have been attending LPC. The property motions, they're still kind of coming out of committee. Anything in particular, Bill or Brent, that we want to update them on? We don't have any big asks yet, daily ask yet, but.
The only thing I have is, we need more people outside of the developers and real estate agents to run for state. And so if any of you would like to run, that'd be great. I'll fully support you in that. Anyway, it's a tough year. Bills are tough. There's a lot of unfunded mandates. I think what we learned on Monday was like $99 million worth of unfunded mandates. So far, and includes increasing public safety retirement contributions from the city, removing or evaluating the food tax that would directly impact our revenue that we generate.
A lot of bills being proposed, like you say, that with no state money coming.
And no state money coming. So it's really tough, and yeah, it's a tough year.
We will keep you, like the last year, I mean, it gets crazy the last couple of weeks where, we'll get an email out to reach out to people.
I think League's they're all negotiating in League. So far, I feel like they've done a pretty good job negotiating and trying to soften some of these bills, but there's a long way to go on a few of them.
Yeah. Any other questions for me? Okay, city manager report.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just have two items. The first item is the moderate income housing report was accepted. We are in compliance, so appreciate Corey Snyder, staff, Whitney and Donna, as well as the Planning Commission for getting us through that. Appreciate all of you as well. But I know there's a lot of work on Corey, and that's not over yet. I asked Corey to reach out to the League because there's potentially some amendments to the moderate income housing report. There was no appeal, right? If DWS says you're out of compliance, there's nobody to go to say, but wait a minute. So those amendments are being proposed to include some sort of appeal process. And I asked Corey to reach out to the League to just ask, because he's pretty passionate about this and frustrated. I thought he would give some very helpful feedback.
Do we have any way to recognize the work that they did on that? I think he did a great job. And do you have some mechanism to go, hey, good job?
I try to do that all the time with staff. But as far as if you council want to recognize the next city council meeting and the presentation, you're welcome to take that one.
I'd like to.
I think that would be awesome.
What was the thing we talked about just the other day about recognizing some company that has been doing something?
I don't know how Corey's going to react to being praised by the city council. That might freak him
What's your
out.
ulterior motive?
That's why I feel like he deserves
It might
it.
totally
I
freak him
seriously,
out.
like, that was a lot of work
Talked about
to
Judy
begin
today,
with,
bringing
and then
treats.
to get it rejected and have to kind
Similar
of
to
go
that,
back.
because there's a company.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and he did a great job of, I think, getting it, like, that second try, all of our employees are awesome, but I just think.
I will share that Corey is by far the best community development director I've ever worked with. He's reasonable, level-headed, knows how to manage. Kevin and I just had this conversation an hour before this meeting of how much we appreciate Corey because he's so understanding of our ordinances that it's really quick. If we're dealing with something that takes a lot of pressure off of Mike, off of Kevin, off of Lisa, and we were just talking about how grateful we are for Corey and all that he does. I know sometimes he struggles, and I shouldn't probably do this on YouTube but I know he struggles sometimes if he feels like he's doing a good enough job for Centerville, and I will say he's doing a phenomenal job for Centerville.
I agree.
And,
I agree with that very much.
And I appreciate him, and I want to keep him. But anyway, those are my personal thoughts on that.
So can we do something, are we in agreement?
Yes,
Can we do
definitely.
Something to acknowledge and recognize his effort?
And if you want to give your thoughts to the mayor and I can discuss what
Okay.
that looks like or what it is.
Okay,
That'd be great.
sounds good.
And then the last thing I have, training. We're in training mode. We're going to have some land use training. But I do want to remind all of you that you are required to complete the sexual harassment training as well.
Who?
The sexual harassment training.
Is that every year?
Well, yeah, it is.
How do I complete it?
Jacob will send you he's online. Jake, if he'll send you kind of a link of where you need to go.
Okay.
It's
Send
through
me a
Irma.
link too, Jake.
Yeah, I think he did send it. I'm not sure I ever did it. I would be happy to do so, but he may need to send the link again.
There are a number of trainings that staff were required to do, but we have quite a number of them, but you as council also have
Okay.
a number that need to complete. So that's all I have unless you have questions for me. Oh, I will share that on the latest vacation, my wife bought me a shirt that had a picture of Grumpy on it, and it said, "I had fun once, and it was awful." So I wore that.
So are you saying you were grumpy?
I was
on
grumpy.
Kahoot? Oh, rats.
I had fun once, and it was awful.
That's really funny.
Thank you everyone for being here. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved. Second.
All in favor, aye?